The best product leaders aren't just product managers. They are part psychologists, part economists, part strategists. They see the world through a lens of first principles. But how do you move from theory to practice? How do you stop being a victim of chaos and start being the architect of your own outcomes? This is the Sovereign PM, the podcast that deconstructs the ideas of product strategist Schwarzkopf to give you a more powerful way to think and lead. It's time to own your outcomes. Let's begin.
All right, so if you're a leader, I'm sure you know this feeling. You pour weeks into crafting the perfect roadmap. It's logical, it's data-driven, but the second you present it, you just hit a wall of resistance. So why does this keep happening? Well, today we're going to dig into the hidden reason, and it all comes down to biology. More importantly, we'll look at how you can actually overcome it. Okay, picture this. You've done the work, right? Weeks of discovery. You've got all the data, the research. Your roadmap is like a thing of beauty. It's logical. You walk into that meeting expecting high fives, maybe a little celebration, but instead, crickets. You get this wall of friction. The whole energy in the room just deflates. The questions start, and they just don't stop. And suddenly, your forward momentum slows to an absolute crawl. And you're just sitting there thinking, what? What just happened? What went wrong? I mean, your logic was perfect. The business case was totally solid. It's a super frustrating feeling, and believe me, it is so common for leaders everywhere. Well, here's the thing. This is the core idea of our whole explainer. Your problem wasn't the logic. It wasn't your spreadsheet. The problem is you brought a spreadsheet to a biological fight. You walked in completely unarmed. See, the resistance you're feeling? It has nothing to do with logic. It's a primal, deep-seated human reaction. So let's dive into that. Section 1, the biology of change. Or as I like to call it, why your brain sees a new feature as a bear in the woods. Our brains, they're hardwired for survival. They see any significant change, and it doesn't matter if it's a good one, as a potential threat. It literally triggers the exact same fight or flight response we'd have if we stumbled upon a bear. So that shiny new roadmap you're so pumped about, to your team's subconscious, it might as well have big, sharp claws. And look, this is not some small, niche problem. We're talking about a massive issue. This biological reaction, it's the reason why an estimated 75%, 3 out of 4, of all big corporate transformations just fail. And it's not because the strategy was bad. It's because we failed to manage this deeply human side of change. So really, if you've felt this pain, you are absolutely not alone. So what you see on the surface as a leader are these symptoms, right? The passive opposition, the endless questions, the slowed velocity. But what's really happening deep down in the brain is a whole different story. It's a flood of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It's that bear in the woods threat response. It's an unconscious biological reaction. And here's the key takeaway. You can't solve a biological reaction with a better business case. You need a completely different toolkit. So, what's in this toolkit? Let's get into it. Strategy number 1 is what we're calling the motivation map. And this is all about hacking the why behind the work. It's a big shift from just managing change to actually humanizing it. We've got to move past talking only about revenue and metrics. Okay, so behavioral science tells us there are basically 5 core things that really motivate us as humans. First, there's personal success, growing our careers. Then, helping customers. Third is supporting the team, that sense of camaraderie. Fourth is contributing to a bigger community or mission. And yeah, number 5 is delivering financial results. Now, here's the big mistake most leaders make. They pitch only to that last one, the money part. They completely ignore the other 4 motivators. That's 80% of what actually gets people out of bed in the morning. Let's make this super practical. Imagine you have to pitch a tech debt project. You know it's boring, but it's so necessary. Instead of having just one pitch, you create 5. For that engineer who's all about personal success, you frame it as a chance to become the team's go-to expert on modernizing our systems. For the designer who lives and breathes for our customers, you say, hey, this finally fixes those slow load times our users complain about every single day. For the team as a whole, it's, we're investing in our own sanity here, folks. Let's make our own jobs less frustrating. For the person who's all about the company's mission, you connect it. A stable platform is the foundation for everything we're trying to achieve. And yeah, of course, for the finance folks and execs, you still have that classic pitch. This investment pays for itself in 6 months through increased velocity. See what's happening? You're telling the same story, but you're speaking 5 different languages, connecting with everyone in the room. All right, so motivation is huge, but it's pretty much useless if your team is already completely burned out, right? If they're running on empty. And that brings us to our second strategy, the cognitive audit. This is a simple way to measure your team's true capacity for change at any given moment. This whole idea is built around something called cognitive load. And it's not just about how busy are you. That's too simple. Cognitive load is actually a function of 2 really important things. First is their capacity. That's their real available time and energy. And second is their confidence, their belief that they can actually do the thing you're asking them to do. You have to have both. So how do you measure this stuff? Well, the good news is you don't need some complicated 50-question survey. All it takes is a super simple, private, 5-minute check-in. Seriously. Just start by asking, hey, how are you feeling about the sprint? Start with feelings, it opens people up. Then you just ask 2 questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your capacity right now? And then, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence? That's it. It's a quick but incredibly powerful diagnostic tool. And this is where it gets really useful. You can now use this information like a diagnostic tool. So let's say someone tells you their capacity is low, like a 3, but their confidence is high, a 9. The real problem there isn't motivation. It's that they're just plain overwhelmed. Maybe something's going on at home. Your job as a leader is not to give them a pep talk. Your job is to act as their shield. You have to reduce their workload, period. Now flip that. What if their capacity is high, say an 8, but their confidence is low, like a 2? Now you're dealing with something different, probably imposter syndrome or a skills gap. In this case, your job is to be a coach. You pair them with a mentor, you break the task down into smaller, more manageable pieces, and you help build that confidence back up. Okay, so bringing these 2 strategies together, motivation and capacity, this is what it means to be what we call the leader as humanist. It creates this amazing feedback loop. You use that motivation map to understand someone's core why. Then you use the cognitive audit to keep a pulse on their actual capacity and confidence. So when you see someone's confidence dipping in that check-in, you already know what motivates them. You can use their specific motivator as a lever to help them reconnect with their purpose and get back on track. At the end of the day, this completely reframes what it means to be a leader. You start to see that the greatest product leaders, well, they're not just amazing strategists. They are practical psychologists. They get that every single roadmap, every new feature, every decision is a change management challenge. They lead the human beings on their team, not just the project plan. So look, the question isn't if you're going to face resistance to change. That's a given. You will. The real question is, how are you going to meet that biological reality? Are you going to keep bringing that spreadsheet to a biological fight? Or are you going to start leading the people? To put it simply, how will you humanize change?
And that brings us to the end of this debrief. Our goal is to give you not just ideas, but a more powerful way to think. If you found value in this discussion, the best way to support this work is to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future session. And if you know a fellow product leader who is wrestling with these same challenges, feel free to share this episode with them. As always, you can find the link to the original in-depth article by Karsten Schwarzkopf directly in the description below. Thank you for your time and your attention. Stay sovereign.